Okay.
See, we're learning stuff over here.
Learning
Yeah. All
stuff.
right. Hello, Secret Show audience. Welcome to Tuesday. It's March 19th, 2024. This is Up North News Radio.
Shh, don't tell anyone. It's a secret audience.
Well, no, the show's not secret. The audience. Anyway, we are going to be very happy to bring you a show at 6:06 this morning across the Civic Media Radio Network. Busy day today. We've got Sharita Booker talking about our most clicked on stories over at Up North News. Christina Laurie with stories that come out of our daily newsletter. Wausau Mayor Katie Rosenberg at 7:05. Former State Assembly Rep and UW Regent Dana Wachs at 7:30. Chad Holmes at 7:50. Brittany Merlot's forecast at the top of the 7 o'clock hour. So much stuff, including today's history lesson and headlines, all just 5 minutes away. We'll see you soon. All right, let's see here. I was going to play one of these tunes, but now that we're on Facebook, it'd probably get us tagged. So I can't play music for you right now. I'm sorry. I kind of have to sing over this so that, we don't get pinged for copyright measures, but this was the old NBC Nightly News theme from 1972 to 1977. John Chancellor and David Brinkley. All right, let's put on a show. Here we go.
All across Wisconsin from Civic Media, this is Up North News Radio. Now, live from our Lake Wausau studio, here's the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Brightlow.
Well, hey there, Wisconsin. Good morning. It is 6:06 on this Tuesday morning, the 19th day of March, 2024, and it's another beautiful day to have you here up north, live from Lake Wausau, from wherever you're listening across the Civic Media Radio Network, through the app, through social media, by podcast, but especially by app, starting today. Here's why. I got a question for you. Could I interest you in winning some prizes? How about you, Greg Bach? Greg Bach, do you like prizes? Do you think people would be interested in prizes?
Two answers to that. I'm very interested in prizes, and
Mhm.
I know our listeners are interested in prizes.
That's correct. Those are two correct answers, Greg. Give yourself a ding, ding, ding for that. Yes.
Ding, ding, ding.
Civic Media is launching a brand new contest, and it's starting right here on Up North News Radio. Well, and the other stations across Civic Media around the
No,
state.
just us.
Yeah, let's go ahead and feel special anyway.
Yeah.
It's quite simple, really, and it's going to start an hour from now. Did you know Civic Media has an app that you can get from the Apple or the Google store? Have I ever mentioned the app before? Maybe once, twice?
Pat,
Maybe.
What's an app?
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to take
So
this whole first hour. Pat's going to tell Greg, that's me, what an app is.
Yes, it's a thing. It's a little doohickey that you put on that gizmo that you hold up to your ear. Here's the deal. Starting in our 7 o'clock hour, around 7:07 or so, when Brittany Merlot is here to give us the weather, I'm going to give you further instructions. I can't give it all away yet, but the Civic Media app is your key to get entered for daily prizes and a grand prize. And again, I'm not going to say much more because the contest doesn't officially start till 7 o'clock hour, but I would say during this hour, download the app because you can then listen to any Civic Media station on it. You can use the app to call into the show, text into the show, hint, hint, get routed to the main website to learn more about a station. You can even, Greg Bach, set a sleep timer via the app so that the smooth sounds of Nightlight with Pete Schwaba can lull you to slumber. So get the app.
That
Be
was
part of the
like
new
one of the
contest.
greatest. And I just want to say, for the people
Mhm.
out there listening, the grand prize may or may not be my car. Just put
Again,
it out there.
It's grand prize. It's a grand prize. Would you describe your car as
2010
grand?
Honda Insight.
Oh, there it is. All right. So keep that in mind. It's a special day today, in part because it means nothing to anybody but me. Today is morning show number 300 for Up North News Radio. So 300
Oh, look at
episodes
that,
of this.
buddy. Look at you
this
being
little
amazing.
moment. So, if you want to wish us happy anniversary or happy 300 or whatever, you can call us at 855-75-CIVIC, 855-75-CIVIC, or you can send us an email, radio@upnorthnewswi.com. And if you're watching on the face page, you can just put a comment down below there and tell us what's on your mind, and we may put that up on air. All right, let's tell you what else is coming up here. It's Tuesday, so it's kind of an Up North News theme on Tuesdays where two of my colleagues join us, Sharita Booker in a few minutes and Christina Laurie, who tells us stories in the newsletter. Among the things that they'll be talking about, Greg, did you have a Blockbuster video membership card back in the day, or are you too young for that?
Pat, I didn't know I didn't only have a membership card. I was an employee.
You were an employee.
I worked at Blockbuster Video.
Of course you did. Yes, I can see it now, and giving those kids a look like, are you really old enough to rent that movie? Well, I'll let it slide this time. So anyway, there is still at least one place in Wisconsin where you can still rent movies on VHS. So we'll hear about that. We'll review some of the other popular stories of the week, including all kinds of reaction to last week's report about Aaron Rodgers being considered as a running mate for fellow conspiracy theorist Robert Kennedy Jr. And that's dead now, right? But there was obviously a lot of reaction to it when it was in the news originally. So in our second hour, Rosenberg, Wachs, and Holmes. That's not a new law firm, but they sure make a great hour of conversation. We're going to talk to Wausau Mayor Katie Rosenberg. We'll talk to Chad Holmes of Bull Falls Radio in Wausau. And we will catch up with former State Assembly rep and former UW Regent Dana Wachs, who became collateral damage when Republican legislators started firing appointees of Governor Tony Evers en masse for reasons that remain a mystery, unless childishness, is the reason and says it all. If that's the case, then I guess that's the word that describes it. So temperatures are a little warmer out there, though still, shall we say, on the winter side of things. It's 32 here on Lake Wissota, 33 in Hayward. Park Falls in at 29, Wausau 31, Green Bay 33. La Crosse is reporting 32 degrees, Wisconsin Rapids 30, Oshkosh 32, Madison 30, and in Waukesha, it is 27 degrees on what is, I don't want to give away everything in today's history lesson, but what is National Agriculture Day, which, of course, Greg sent me down the rabbit hole because I'm like, wait, this is National Agriculture Day? I thought we did something in the fall about that. I mean, we played the whole Paul Harvey, God Made a Farmer thing and all of that. It turns out that this is National Agriculture Day. That thing in October was National Farmers Day. So this is where everybody else gets in on the racket. Farmers got their own special day, but now it's about everybody that's involved in the role of agriculture, not just the growing, but the processing, the trucking, the packaging, you name it. It's all part of agriculture's role in a modern society. So whatever role that you played, and mine was eating what they made, happy Agriculture Day.
And once we talk about it, you'll know the rest of the story.
Thank you, Paul Harvey. Yes, there is a theme this year. Jenny Badig of the Agriculture Council of America says the theme is growing a climate for tomorrow. And it's all about farmers leading the charge when it comes to sustainability. And of course, that fits right in with the climate and being good stewards of the land and of the air. And, the same goes not just for farmers, but for everybody involved in the food chain, is to make things as sustainable as possible and don't contribute to the problems of a changing climate. So for anybody that is part of the agriculture chain out there, a happy National Agriculture Day. We see you, we recognize you, and we are really, really, really thankful for you, because if I had to grow my own stuff, this would be one very, very scrawny boy talking to you on the radio right now. Looking at news that we can unpack here at just about 6:14 or so, Marquette University is planning to make some big cuts. And I bring that up because yesterday and Friday, we talked about Northland College up in Ashland and other small schools that are facing fiscal issues. Well, it's at the the big boys are going through this as well. A Milwaukee Journal Sentinel article from Mary Spicuzza and Rory Linane notes that Marquette is planning $31 million in cuts over the next 7 years. That's about 7% of their operating budget. And that means the university will have to consider all of its program offerings, its physical structure, its organizational structure. This comes, right on the heels of Northland College saying they need to raise $12 million in less than a month, or they may have to close the college up there. Others have already decided to close, like Cardinal Stritch, UW Platteville, Richland Center, UW Milwaukee at Washington County, UW Oshkosh at Fond du Lac, UW Green Bay at Marinette, and the most recent one, UW Milwaukee at Waukesha. There's some other campuses, including private schools like St. Norbert and public universities like UW Oshkosh, that are announcing that they've had to cut anywhere from dozens to hundreds of employees. And so this is not just a small school thing. And as we've talked about on the program previously, there are many reasons for it. One of the significant demographic ones is simply the demographic cliff that's out there of the what's the opposite of the baby boom? The baby bust. So few people were growing their families during the Great Recession in 2007, 2008, 2009. And that lull in the population growth is about to hit all of our colleges and universities at a time when expenses, surely aren't going down. So there are things that could be done along the way. We've certainly spoken at length about how at the state government level, not just in Wisconsin, but everywhere, state governments have made it increasingly more expensive to go to schools. And just last night, I got around to watching this past week's John Oliver Last Week Tonight on HBO Max, and it was all about the student loan system. And I've been following the student loan issue for well over a decade now, and yet, even knowing what I know about it, I am still just stunned that over the past 30 years or so, we have allowed a higher education to become this unapproachable for families of modest means, this expensive. We were once a very generous country when it came to higher education financial aid through Pell Grants and anything to make sure that our country could have a competitive edge by growing the number of people who went to colleges and universities. It feels like we've spent the last 20 to 30 years trashing the notion of going to colleges or universities. And again, I think the pendulum has swung too far. Do I feel like once upon a time there was not enough love and respect given to the trades and to technical schools? Yes, absolutely. But now I feel like we're overcompensating, having made a higher education in colleges and universities, just something that families can't reach without taking on tens of thousands of dollars in debt that is then given to private companies, and you're hardly paying anything on the principal. For 10 or 20 years, you're paying nothing but interest. Is that really what we as a country want our higher education system to be about? It seems like we need to find a new respect for higher education and, frankly, for education overall. I mean, when you talk about college education, John Oliver was running clip after clip of Republicans who were, trashing the whole notion of, well, these are all just history degrees and art degrees and, completely missing the point of what a liberal arts education can do to create tomorrow's creators, thinkers, leaders, things like that. We need a wide range perspective on supporting education from K-12, pre-K-12 on up. But to do that, we're apparently going to need a new crop of leaders to replace the ones that have been trashing education and making it unaffordable or inaccessible for far too long. We'll do a little bit more unpacking of the news here in a bit, including telling you about a new attorney hired by the National Republican Party and the impact she might have on certifying the votes in Wisconsin later this year. Wherever you're listening, across Wisconsin on this Tuesday morning when you're here. You're Up North, live from Lake Wissota on the Civic Media Radio Network. And now it's time for us to visit with Sharita Booker, social media manager for Up North News. If you haven't found us on social media yet, head over to your favorite platform and look for Up North News. You might have to search Up North News WI just to make sure you get the right one, based right here in Wisconsin. Sharita, how you doing over there?
How are you?
Good, good. Now, the president was in town not long ago. I don't suppose you got a chance to, you didn't bump into him at a coffee shop or get any exclusive interview that you want to tell us about?
Fortunately not. I was curious at what hotel he chose to stay at, though.
Oh, you knew it was going to be the Pfister, which, I mean, that place is equipped for it. It's nice. I stayed there one time, and it's very presidential, shall we say. It's old school, and it's a place where, in some parallel universe, someplace, Robert Kennedy Jr. thinks he's going to stay there someday as president, and maybe Aaron Rodgers is vice president. I don't know. Maybe this whole thing has already blown over and we're just reacting to it. But people did react when you put up the post about, what conceivably could happen with these two guys.
Yeah, so the New York Times reported that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. recently asked Aaron Rodgers, yes, the former Packer, to serve as his running mate on an independent presidential ticket. He's also considering other potential candidates, so his official pick will be announced on March 26th. That post had more than 300 likes and 100 comments. Thorn Apple Quilting said, utterly laughable. I guess learning a playbook is enough credentials to be a vice president now. And Michael Kennedy needs an intervention.
Yeah, it's maybe another one wouldn't hurt. So yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna leave it at that till the big announcement, whatever it is. And last week, Kia Vakil told us, that despite a lot of us being, shall we say, skeptical or just laughing, engaging in mockery about this, he could be spoiler enough to take votes away from Biden or Trump. So we will just have to see how that develops. Now, this next story pains me because you just got done saying former Packer Aaron Rodgers, and we have to now say former Packer Jonathan Owens and former Packers #1 fan Simone Biles. I don't like this. I don't like it at all, Sharita.
So Jonathan Owens is signing with the Chicago Bears. Yes,
no.
right. Meaning, yes, Simone Biles will no longer be part of our Packer Nation. She posted a goodbye to Packers fans saying, just wanted to say thank you for embracing my husband and I. Green Bay will always be a special place in our hearts. And this post got so much love. It had over 5,000 likes and more than 200 comments. Susan said, and you both hold a special place in ours. And Jean said, thank you, Jonathan and Simone. You were the celebrity in the stands when we played Kansas City, not Taylor Swift. Good luck to Jonathan Chicago and you in Paris this summer.
Aw, that's so nice. I mean, look, and that's all they did. All they did was be nice. At no point did she put on some kind of an attitude like, I'm above this, I can't wait to get to a bigger city. She right away, they were gracious. And yeah, they're going to the Bears. We hate the Bears, but
I know.
you can't hate them because they handled everything in such a nice, classy manner.
Yep.
So, and now, having said all that, I hope that Jonathan Owens goes on to drop every potential interception that he might get for the rest of the year. And that's what you get when you leave our team. Last but not least, we got to go with some food, and of course, you got to go with in Wisconsin, you go with cheese, which was in the news yet again, Sharita.
Yep. Wisconsin cheesemakers won 117 awards in the 2024 World Champion Cheese Contest. The competition scored more than 3,000 submissions of cheese, yogurt, butter, and other dairy products. And making it to the world's top 20 cheeses was Hennings Cheese and Kiel for their traditional wax cheddar, and Schumann Cheese and Turtle Lake for their cello copper kettle parmesan. So congratulations to them. That post had almost 2,000 likes, and people in the comments were sharing their congratulations. And people are proud to be cheeseheads here, so we love our cheese.
No, absolutely. That's a new one for me. A copper kettle Parmesan cheese. I'm intrigued. I'd give that a go. What do you were saying you're more of a cheddar girl yourself?
Cheddar and Gouda. Those are my two favorites. What's yours?
Yeah, in both cases, aged cheddar and an aged Gouda. If you're just having cheese for the sake of cheese, but really, if you're doing it in any of your cooking, just give me a pile of shredded cheddar, and I will put that on an old shoe and have that for breakfast, because that's just how we roll up here in America's Dairyland. So we've got all of that and more at Up North News WI through social media on all the major platforms. Sharita Booker takes care of that for us. Sharita, thanks so much. Have a wonderful day.
You too, Pat.
All right, at just about 6:26 now, a reminder, we've got a brand new contest coming up across the Civic Media Radio Network. You enter the contest through the Civic Media app. So for the next 40 minutes or so, go on to Apple or wherever you get your apps and get the Civic Media app downloaded, and we'll tell you much more about it coming up just after the top of the 7 o'clock hour. The Republican National Committee has hired a new attorney to work on its legal unit that's focused on elections. But Christina Bobb, this new attorney, spent a lot of the post-2020 election claiming that Wisconsin's 2020 election was fraudulent, and she was publicly pressuring state Republican leaders to act on some baseless conspiracy theories. That's the reporting from Molly Beck over at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Christina Bobb was a former reporter for the far-right One America News Network, but has now been hired by RNC officials. And that's all part of that recent purge by the Trump campaign, as they got rid of anybody who might even give an indication that they're not fully on board with Trump, and basically turned the National Republican Party into the party of Trump and the party of Trump alone. Well, the hiring of Christina Bobb raises questions about how Trump and National Republicans are going to respond to the outcome of this year's election in Wisconsin if Biden wins again, if President Biden were again to win a narrow victory as he did 4 years ago. In the aftermath, not only the aftermath of the 2020 election, but in 2021 and all the way through 2023, Christina Bobb was very busy on social media, mostly picking fights with Assembly Speaker Robin Vos, the most powerful Republican in the state, who nobody is going to mistake for some kind of a rhino. And yet Christina Bobb would be on Twitter saying things like, the Wisconsin Elections Commission intentionally orchestrated a criminal and fraudulent election. The Wisconsin Elections Commission needs to be dissolved immediately. She accused Vos of either being corrupt or an idiot for backing a bill that would allow election clerks to begin processing absentee ballots the day before Election Day in order to prevent the posting of voting totals late at night. And, as early or as recently as about a year ago, she referred to Robin Vos as, quote, an impish little coward for not doing more to litigate the 2020 election. So she was a far-right news reporter, lawyer, who has been badgering other Republicans for the past 3+ years to continue to try to drag out the results of the 2020 election through the courts. And now she's been hired by the Trump campaign to run the Republican National Committee's legal unit that's focused on elections. There is no other way to look at that except to say that the Trump team is again going to try to badger, bully, or otherwise steal in a way to undermine the election results here in Wisconsin. So keep an eye on all that they're doing, including who they're hiring. Christina Laurie is coming up next. You're Up North. And now it's time for us to visit with Welcome back. It's time for the Uplift here on Up North News Radio, where we talk to Christina Laurie, who puts together our daily newsletter. Sign up at our website, upnorthnewswi.com. Christina, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Pat?
Pretty good, thanks. I mean, we talk a lot about technology, and sometimes technology is getting ahead of us. Some people's, like my iPhone, oh my gosh, is almost like 4 years old. It's practically outdated. So it's almost refreshing or quaint to hear that not everybody is rushing to the latest and greatest technology. And I'm thinking specifically of a pile of VHS tapes in my basement that I'm never going to watch again. But apparently other people, they're still good with the old ways, I guess is how we'd put it, Christina.
Yeah, you should look to see if there's any place that's, buying them back by you, because here in Madison, where I live, there's a shop on State Street that is still going strong. It's called 4-Star Video Rental, and DVDs, Blu-rays, 4K UHD discs, and VHS tapes are still drawing in customers. And what's really interesting is that they're not people from your generation or even my generation who grew up, with these kind of physical media. They're younger people who want, I guess, a taste of what we lived through. So this is a trend that's across the country. DVD and VHS sales are up, especially in rentals. You can rent discs for $4.49 a piece. And you can also get a membership, so you can rent an unlimited number of movies every month. So it's like your physical Netflix.
A membership. I remember my Blockbuster card. I'm sure the Blockbuster card is still floating around someplace. And of course, now we talk about Amazon Prime all the time. But again, I was one of those original folks where Amazon would or through Netflix, they'd send DVDs to you. I think that part of it is just that tangible, physical thing. Right now, not everything, but so much of what we own media-wise is electronic. And once it's gone, it's gone. And I think there's people that actually want that, something they can put in their hands and say, no, I bought this. This is mine. Nothing can take it away.
I think you're totally right. And it's also that exclusivity. People always want, it feels like a greater reward if you had to wait for it. So, the Oscars just aired. A lot of those films will be making their way to the store, and there's going to be a wait list for some of them. So if you were dying to see Oppenheimer, but you had to wait 4 extra weeks to get your hands on that VHS tape, you're probably going to enjoy that experience a little bit more if you're into that kind of stuff.
I noticed you did not say Laserdisc and you did not say Beta. I'm betting even that's a bridge too far for this little video store on State Street. Some things actually do. Nobody's come out with anything new on 8-track for a while here. And
no, but I was going to say, my parents, they still have their VHS player. I don't have one in my own house, but there still works. And we were discussing, what are we going to do when that no longer works? Because that's the only way that we can play all of our classic Disney films. Like, of course you could watch them on Disney Plus. And while I have a membership to that, I have to let you know, I've never watched Cinderella or Beauty and the Beast or The Little Mermaid down there. It feels sacrilegious.
Yeah.
You want to put in the VHS tape and you want to sit through those ads at the beginning where it tells you that Animal Kingdom is coming soon to Orlando.
Soon, right? Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and 25 years ago.
Yes.
But
that would be something to look back. Although we with our 2 daughters, we wore some of those tapes out. Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast.
And the real game changer was when they came out with that 60-second rewinder, and you no longer had to wait several minutes to rewind to the tape. That was always an argument between my brother and me, because I was the follow the rule child. So of course I knew the family rule. If you watch something, you need to rewind it to the beginning. And then you could always tell when my brother jumped in and watched something, because nothing was ever rewound.
It's so funny that we think that we thought were advancements back then. CDs, they're the next big thing. They're gone. VHS rewinders, no, they're gone too.
Wouldn't you love to watch your grandkids wait for 60 full seconds for something to rewind? Like, do kids really even have that attention span nowadays?
No, they do not. This is Women's History Month, and there's no shortage of cool women with Wisconsin ties. So, how did you even approach Women's History Month to write about it in our newsletter?
So all month long, subscribers will know we've been featuring some star standout women from Wisconsin. And actually, the issue that I had writing this is whittling down the list because there are so many to choose from. But here are a few that I didn't know had Wisconsin ties.
Okay.
Their names big and small that you might find interesting, Pat. So this woman named Deborah Amesqua, she was the first female chief of the Madison Fire Department and one of the first women fire chiefs in the country. So that's an awesome first, another way that, we're a leader nationwide. Angie Brooks was the first African woman to serve as president of the UN General Assembly. Her Wisconsin tie is that she graduated with both a law degree and a master's in political science from the UW-Madison. And then Joyce Carlson, speaking of Disney, was a Disney artist best known for her work on the film Lady and the Tramp. And she also worked on the It's a Small World ride at Disney World. She was born in Racine. So,
which, by the way, we won't hold against her. That it had a very lofty goal at the time to bring the world together. And now it's just that ride that you can't wait till it's finished. But we appreciate.
Wait, that's a very controversial opinion.
You think so?
I do. That's one of my favorite rides. So much nostalgia. I love when they go and sing it in all the different languages. I thought you were going to say she had a lofty goal, and looking at the world now, we're pretty far away from that goal.
I think more people just need to get on that ride and check the attitude before they go to it. That's right, world peace. All right, when you can't talk about women and Wisconsin without the original hero from, now I forgot, and I'll get mixed up. Was it Willow or Willows, Wisconsin?
Willow,
Wisconsin. That, of course, would be Barbie.
Yes, that is Barbie. She was born on March 9th, so this month. She turned 65. A few fun facts about her, that the town of Willows, her toy manufacturer Mattel says that she's from Willows, Wisconsin. That's not a real place, but folks at the Milwaukee Record took a deep dive into that fictional town and found out that Willows is likely a small-ish city. They compared it to Burlington without the underlying racism, or Lake Geneva without the chain restaurants.
I mentioned that a couple of weeks back too, with the comments about Burlington and Lake Geneva, and the switchboards didn't light up like crazy. So a lot of people just looked at that and went, checks out. Okay. So go ahead.
I know, they're like, you want to argue with it, but they're not wrong. And Mattel even once made a Willows, Wisconsin series Barbie, which pays homage to the doll's rural roots with a picnic outfit. She's wearing a cherry blouse and blue jeans. It seems very much made by someone who probably has never visited Wisconsin and just assumes that's what every Wisconsin woman looks like. It's kind of funny. They're actually selling for a lot on eBay right now. So the Barbies, you have to have it in the original box to really make more bang for your buck with that. But it's a fun Wisconsin connection to Barbie. It turns out we're really connected to a lot of dolls here between that and American Girl.
Right. Now we're going back well over a week, almost 2 weeks here. So I don't know how much of the Oscars you sat through, and did you see Ryan Gosling do the "I'm Just Ken" song for a global audience?
Did I see it? How many times have I watched it? And I continue watching it, and it continues to pop up my TikTok For You page. I just think it was so great. It's kind of, it really ties into a lot of the serious work that we're trying to do here at Up North News, right? Where we're speaking in Women's History Month. There are so many different disparities and ways that we're going back in time for women's rights. And then Ryan Gosling just being the champion for us all. He really made up for the fact that none of the women actresses or directors were nominated for that film. I love how he started behind Margot Robbie, really gave her due. And then, of course, Oscar winner Emma Stone, his former La La Land co-star too, was belting out the song and getting into it. That was just so fun. And the parallels to, Marilyn Monroe's performance. I was trying to think of, when they were all she was wearing pink and all the dancers behind her were in black and white. I think that's what it was modeled after.
Oh, okay. I never thought of it that
Yeah,
way.
I think like what's the name of the film? Something with gentlemen. This is before
Gentlemen
my
prefer
time.
blondes.
Okay.
Gentlemen
Yeah, so
prefer
it's like a
blondes.
big like show-stopping number. I think
Mhm.
that was the parallel to it.
Oh, yeah, I
but
never
it's so
connected that
fun.
dot. That's cool.
It was a lot deeper than it initially came across. Like it's such a silly song. I'm
Mhm.
just Cat. Anywhere else I'd be a 10.
But again, like the movie itself, there is the thing about the writing is that there's so much more depth, and you appreciate it in pretty short order. That this is more than just some campy movie, more than some campy song, and it all started with a Barbie doll from a fictional Wisconsin town. So these stories and more are in our daily newsletter. Sign up over at UpNorthNewsWI.com. Christina Laurie, thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too, Pat.
All right, where are we at? 6:45 right now, and I did not have much to say in the last half hour about getting, well, Tuesdays are always kind of slow for sports unless the Bucks are playing, so let's just give you a quick refresher on what's coming up for this weekend in the NCAA tourneys and then some. We'll start with the Milwaukee Bucks. They next play in Boston tomorrow night, and then they are at home against the Brooklyn Nets on Thursday. But to the NCAAs, the Wisconsin Badgers are a 5 seed. They will play 12 seed James Madison at 8:40 Friday night in Brooklyn. And then the winner will play either Duke or Vermont. The Marquette Golden Eagles are a 2 seed, and they'll play 15 seed Western Kentucky. And that game is early Friday afternoon, 1 o'clock on Friday in Indianapolis. And the winner there will play the winner of the 7-10 game, number 7 Florida versus, well, the number 10 team. We don't know because Boise State and Colorado still have to do the play-in game before that all gets going. However, that Badger game on Friday night will be here across some Civic Media radio stations, including locally grown radio, News from the Center and Richland Center, Lake Erin Amory, WRJN, and Racine. We still have a few more days to wait till we find out where the Badger men's hockey team will go for the NCAA tournament there. But the women's NCAA tournament is underway. The Badger women are in the Final Four, or the Frozen Four, I should say, which is being hosted by the University of New Hampshire in Durham, New Hampshire. And so on Friday evening, the Badger women will play Colgate in one national semifinal game. And then if the Badgers win, they'll play for the national title against the winner of the other semifinal game, which is Ohio State and Clarkson. And then that game would be on Sunday afternoon, I believe. We're sitting here at just how many more days? Today's the 19th, 9 days until opening day. A week from Thursday, the Milwaukee Brewers open up the season. That'll be next week, Thursday, against the New York Mets. And then the home opener is the following Tuesday on April 2nd. That will be a home opener versus the Twins. But spring training baseball is still going on. And folks listening to WRCE News from the Center, your next Brewers spring training game will be coming up this Friday afternoon. So, knock off work a couple hours early. The broadcast starts at 3 o'clock. And, just get yourself ready to hear a little Brewers baseball taking on the Kansas City Royals. Now, the weather forecast says there might be snow, so you probably can't sit out on your lawn chair or in your hammock and listen to a Brewers game on the radio the way that you could, later on in the season. But, take the advantage of a little time and listen to some spring training baseball. I think that's the way to go. Greg, you had a question about James Madison, the Badgers' opponent, coming up on Friday night here.
Oh, no, I was just making a smart aleck comment about James Madison and Abraham Lee. It was an inside joke. I'm sorry I put it in the chat.
No, that's okay. I just thought, James Madison, what did he do? But that just takes us down a whole different rabbit hole with the founding fathers. Maybe he and Abraham Lincoln signed the Declaration of Independence, like that Ohio Senate candidate said before.
With Elon Musk. He was there too.
Yes. Oh, this is going to be a long campaign, folks. It just is. All right, today's history lesson and musical memories are coming up in just a bit, along with a reminder that we have a brand new contest coming up. You're going to need the Civic Media app downloaded to be a part of it. We'll tell you about it right after the top of the next hour. And that next hour includes Wausau Mayor Katie Rosenberg, former UW Regent Dana Wachs, Brittany Merlot, Chad Holmes, and more. You're Up North.
Seemed impossible to face.
It's 3-for-1 drink specials at the Trader and Trapper right off the UW Eau Claire campus. Get out there and do your groove thing until bar time. To the Pointer Sisters. Such was my life in 1984. Ruth Pointer is 78 years old today. She's the eldest and the only surviving Pointer sister, with one of their many pop hits in the mid-1980s.
I love the Pointer Sisters. The way you yeah.
No, I was trying to say Pink Cadillac. That's what I was looking for. They did a remake of Pink Cadillac that I really like. Nothing against Bruce Springsteen or anybody else who's done a version, but I do like the Pointer Sisters version. Was it? Now I'm second guessing myself. Was it the Pointer Sisters or was it Natalie?
I think
Cole?
that was wasn't that
I
Aretha
love
Franklin?
when we. No. She did Who's Zooming Who. I love when we play Stump the Band with ourselves.
Natalie Cole.
Now here it is, Pat and Greg in the nursing home later on saying, no, I think it was the Pointer Sisters.
Had I told you 1,000 times it was the daughter of the King Cole.
Throwing her pudding at each other. So Ruth Pointer is 78 today. Actress Glenn Close is 77. And I still can't think of Glenn Close without thinking of that movie where that poor pet bunny.
I won't be ignored, Dan.
Oh boy, that was a brutal movie. The U.S. Congress established time zones and approved daylight savings time on this day in 1918. Here's another. Hey, that brought order and uniformity to our clocks. Before, the clocks, the times were set higgledy-piggledy by all the railroad companies. It was
you did that so on purpose. I saw
know.
you take a moment. You're like, which one am I whipping out? Higgledy-piggledy.
Higgledy-piggledy, absolutely.
Which is actually it is the closest known competitor of Piggly Wiggly.
Well, I'm just saying that when the railroads were the only ones setting the times, it was the most cockamamie system of time zones and time management that you
now
could
you're
ever
just abusing it.
Oh, sorry. Happy 69th birthday to actor Bruce Willis. We played the theme from Moonlighting, I think, back on Friday for Al Jarreau, the anniversary of his birth.
Yeah.
But we don't have to play that because Bruce Willis actually did cut an album or two.
Yeah, he did.
And this song was on the charts for a hot hour and a half. This was him with June Pointer of the Pointer Sisters and a little song called Respect Yourself.
Respect yourself.
Pat, tell him the name of the record.
I don't have it in front of me.
You don't remember it was The Return of Bruno.
The Return of Bruno. Yes, I knew there was a Bruno in there, but I'm so used to we don't talk about Bruno. Yeah.
For context to the people who don't know, Bruce Springsteen in the 80s was the hottest person, like movies, TV show. And he made a record called The Return of Bruno. And that's when we all said, 1, who's Bruno? 2, where did he go? And 3, why is he back?
we never knew. And Bruno didn't show up until decades later in that Disney cartoon movie. On this day in 1974, Jefferson Airplane reformed with most of the original members. They dropped the Jefferson Airplane name and renamed themselves Jefferson Starship. They kicked off a tour at the Auditorium Theater in Chicago. They would later simply become Starship. But as Jefferson Starship, they got together on this day in 1974 and cut an album shortly afterwards with a couple of big hits, including this one.
If only you believe like I believe, baby, like I believe, we get by.
On this day in 1831, the first documented bank heist in U.S. history, when burglars stole $245,000 from Citibank. Yes, the company that later became Citibank with an I instead of a Y, on Wall Street. Most of the money was recovered, but yeah, apparently the amount of money taken in the heist in 1831 value was $245,000. So crime did pay for at least an hour or so before they had to get rid of the money.
That would be almost $8.8 million today.
Ooh, yeah, that sounds like quite a high. Okay, so the first heist on this day, but like I said, most of the money was recovered, so I guess what good did it do them? If you're wondering why we had played the Doobie Brothers a little earlier in the hour, here's why. On this day in 1976, well, yeah, we always want to. On this day in 1976, the Doobie Brothers released their first album with Michael McDonald, and here was the title track from said album.
Such a good opener.
Michael McDonald was brought into the group just to play keyboards, but it was with this title track that the rest of the band looked and watched how the songs were performing and went, okay, it's you. You're our new lead singer. And thus
do you know what band he came from?
No, I just know he sang background on about 6,000 records, but I don't know which band he was in.
Steely Dan.
Well, I thought he helped Steely Dan and he helped some other bands, but I didn't think of him as part of the band, I guess. But yeah, he's everywhere. He's still everywhere.
So awesome. I love Michael McDonald.
He was going through, of course, as I'm mindlessly scrolling through TikTok, there he is talking about one particular song, which it's minute by minute, which has a very interesting keyboard solo at the very beginning. And he's just explaining how, it's really not that tough. And his fingers are just going all over the place on the keyboard. And the man is now yacht rock legend. He's on the Mount Rushmore of light rock.
Oh God, I would say so. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And let's see, this is the day in 1979 that we first got to watch Congress on TV. This was when C-SPAN began broadcasting on this day, 1979. We already mentioned that this is National Agriculture Day. It is also Red Nose Day, which I'm going to defer to the man who runs a stand-up comedy club. But Red Nose Day is something like a British origin, just a kind of a day to make people laugh. So I don't know that it's really caught on here in the U.S. yet. It is National Poultry Day, Certified Nurses Day, International Read to Me Day, 3D Technology Day, Backyard Day, Chocolate Caramel Day. I can always get behind that. It's World Social Work Day. And finally, it is Stretch Mark Day, which I'm pretty sure is about new moms and body positivity, although it could actually apply to, the feeling a day or two after Thanksgiving dinner for all the rest of us. In our next hour, we'll talk to Wausau Mayor Katie Rosenberg. We'll talk to former UW Regent Dana Wachs, and we'll get the forecast from Brittany Berlow and a brand new contest coming up next. You're Up North.
all across Wisconsin from Civic Media. This is Up North News Radio. Now, live from our Lake Wissota studio, here's the founding editor of Up North News, Chad Brightlow.
With a very busy hour ahead of us on this March 19th, 2024. Nice to have you along across the Civic Media Radio Network. We're going to be talking to a couple of friends of the program here, and I'm hoping I've staggered them properly, but we may be doing some short visits with both Wausau Mayor Katie Rosenberg and also our friend Dana Wachs, the former Assembly rep, the now former University of Wisconsin regent, caught up in the Republican temper tantrum to fire a whole bunch of Governor Tony Evers' appointees, and that included Dana Wachs from the Board of Regents. We'll talk a bit about the political climate with Dana. We'll talk about Wausau issues with Mayor Katie Rosenberg. And then, since it's Tuesday, we'll also talk with Chad Holmes from Bull Falls Radio in Wausau later in the hour about some of the issues going on there. I've got to do a little cleanup first before Brittany Merlot joins us with the forecast here. We were talking about Glenn Close, it being her birthday today. The movie title that I could not come up with at the moment there was Fatal Attraction with Michael Douglas.
Sorry, I just wanted to say the line.
Yeah, I know.
I won't be ignored, Dan.
Yes. And Red Nose Day was something that was kind of started by the Comic Relief Group, an annual campaign that raises money to end child poverty and to give children safe, healthy, educated, and empowered environments all across the U.S. and around the world. So when you buy a little red nose, which can make kids laugh, you're also supporting the programs that help out these kids. Rob up in Tigerton tells us that it is partly cloudy, 30 degrees there. And he says, I got to get my outdoors work done by Thursday. We'll ask Brittany why that is in a moment. And he also adds, I really love your show. It's educational and love bringing back music memories, fans, and fun. Well, thank you, Rob. Appreciate that as we hit show number 300 since we've been doing this thing. And at some point, I'm hoping we're going to have 300 listeners. We get that. That'll be a banner day. Brittany Merlot, I think, is number 299. So we're looking for somebody just to come up to the show as well. Brittany, how are you this morning?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Well, pretty good, but yeah, it's a little chilly out there. We've talked about that the past couple of days, and that we're not completely done with winter yet as we look toward the end of the week, right?
No, we are not. So we've got a little bit of a roller coaster going on here. If you've heard your walls kind of creaking, or if you went outside earlier this morning, you know that those winds are whipping once again up to 30 to 35 miles per hour, especially in towards the lake, Milwaukee, Green Bay. You're feeling some of those stronger gusts into Door County as well. But statewide, we'll feel gusts up to 25 miles per hour today. It's out of the southwest right now, which is going to give us a little milder temperatures where we will climb into those low 40s to low 50s across the state. But the winds shift as soon as this afternoon. They'll be pulling out of the north. They're going to drag us much colder again. We will see sunshine tomorrow, sunshine Thursday, all calm ahead of the storm, which everything will change Thursday night and into Friday. Expect your Friday morning commute to be a rough one statewide. We are looking at accumulating snowfall. Everyone will probably see 2 to 5 inches. And of course, we're still tracking who could potentially see some double-digit accumulations our way.
Wait, what? Double-digit accumulations?
Double digits, yes. There's a track of about 6 to 10 inches that is shifting anywhere between, well, I think La Crosse is definitely going to see that, but it depends if it's going to hit Madison, Milwaukee area, or if it wants to go a little bit north towards Wisconsin Rapids and Green Bay.
You got to use the word, though. It depends on where the wobble is.
Yeah, it's always wobbling.
To the north or to the south here.
Exactly.
I got a warning on my phone saying it's going to be windy. I don't know who Gail is, but it's going to be windy apparently.
Oh, yeah, she lives on the lake.
Gail does? Oh, okay.
Yeah, Gale force winds.
always blowing over my trash cans. That Gail.
All right, Brittany, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. All right, time to tell you about a brand new contest that's being started here on Civic Media. Again, Up North News is a separate entity from Civic Media. Up North News owned by Courier Newsroom, but we are so happy to be partners with Civic Media for this daily radio show and to tell you what else is happening on Civic Media. And that includes their brand new Ride into Spring text to win contest. Oh, I like this. Which one is this?
This is the
pyramid.
$25,000 pyramid,
Yeah.
which, fun fact, the $25,000 pyramid has been adjusted to meet inflation more than the minimum wage in this country.
That's a very good point.
You're welcome.
Here's the deal. There's going to be 4 daily winners because 4 different times during the day this contest is going to be run. And so there will be 4 daily winners, and the daily winner wins an overnight getaway to Chula Vista Resort in Wisconsin Dells. And then all the entrants, everybody who enters, including the daily winners, you're entered to win one of the grand prizes that include brand new bicycles, the Ride into Spring contest. There's a very high-end blender here. There's an outdoor patio love seat. I'm glad we're doing the game show music because it's got a whole bunch of game show prizes here. It's like a showcase showdown. Here's how it's going to work. During the first part of the hour here at 7 a.m., and then again at 10 a.m., 1 p.m., and 3 p.m., we're going to give you a keyword. Because I think Say the Secret Word is probably still trademarked by Groucho Marx. But we're going to give you a keyword. And what you got to do is go into the Civic Media app, and where it gives you the option to text one of the stations, you text that keyword. So go into the Civic Media app, pull up any of the stations that we're on. Pull up your hometown station. It might be 93.5 The Tap in Chippewa Falls. It might be Bull Falls Radio in Wausau. It can be whichever one you'll find one of our shows on. Use the text button and simply text this hour's keyword. Spring. Spring, as in, Ride into Spring, the name of the contest. Now, that's all you do. You use the app, you text Spring into the radio station, and you are automatically entered into the contest. And then one text is pulled randomly for this hour, and then all the other times during the day, and you get that overnight stay at the Chula Vista Resort in Wisconsin Dells. So download the app, go to one of the radio stations, and text Spring. That'll get you entered. Different word every hour, different word every day. So this is the one time that we're using the word spring to text. I don't think I could make it any more clear than that. So there you are.
What are those times again, Pat?
You can do this contest several times a day at 7 a.m., 10 a.m., 1 p.m., and 3 p.m. on all Civic Media talk and music stations. So there you go. And
Thanks, Pat. Thanks for giving all the details.
I already see one of the hazards of this because when we get notifications of text messages, I've got it set for a little audio alert too, so I get a little ding in my ear. And I currently feel like I should be checked into a clinic someplace for all the dinging that's going on back here right now. So I'm clearly one occupational hazard I didn't think to address before getting involved in all of this. But again, there it is, our Ride into Spring text to win contest. We'll do this again with a new keyword tomorrow morning, and again throughout the day here at 10 a.m., 1 p.m., 3 p.m., all across Civic Media. All right, I mentioned a couple of special guests here, and it looks like we'll be sliding them both down a little bit later on in the hour here. Both Wausau Mayor Katie Rosenberg and Dana Wachs, former UW Regent, former state assembly rep, is going to be talking about his future plans now that Republicans have fired him and others from some key points in the Governor Evers administration. By the way, not for any kind of cause whatsoever, other than again just blatant partisanship. There's a new over-the-counter birth control pill that does not require a prescription, and Medicaid recipients in Wisconsin are going to have access to it starting today, allowing them to easily receive contraceptive medication with no out-of-pocket costs and no doctor's prescription. Governor Tony Evers promised in his State of the State speech in January that the pill, called O-Pill, would be available to people in the state's Medicaid program, otherwise known as Badger Care Plus. It will start becoming available in some Medicaid-enrolled pharmacies starting today and expand over the coming week. The governor said it was more important than ever to ensure access to the drug, quote, as we see continued attacks on women's reproductive freedoms here in Wisconsin and across the country. Badger Care Plus currently covers over-the-counter daily oral contraception with a prescription from a provider, but a new standing order from ERAS will allow this new pill, O-Pill, to be available without a prescription and without any out-of-pocket costs. So a very significant change there for people who want to, plan out their families accordingly. There's an article in yesterday's New York Times that caught my attention that I would bring your attention to as well, as we wait for the U.S. Supreme Court to weigh a case, I think next week, on medication abortion. And again, that's the case involving mifepristone, which is, again, the abortion medication is not the same as oral contraceptives, despite what some people without a science background would have you think. Regardless, it's all about how this current court interprets the Constitution. How do they interpret the law? And we've heard a lot about how conservative justices consider themselves to be originalists. They want to look at what did the Founding Fathers mean, which has always struck me as odd because the Founding Fathers would pass out at what we have nowadays. There were no airplanes back then. Women could not vote or hold jobs. We still had slavery back in that day. So to try to just base your reading of the law on a late 1700s mindset, to me, has always been mind-boggling. And now retired Justice Stephen Breyer has a new book that's coming out. It's coming out next week. On the same day, the Supreme Court hears the arguments in that abortion medication case. And he really feels, he says, like something's going on, that the court has taken a wrong turn in relying too much on originalism. And he focuses a lot of it on the Dobbs decision, the case that wiped away women's abortion rights, the protections that they enjoyed under Roe v. Wade. Breyer dissented in that opinion, and he said the decision was stunningly naive in saying that it was returning the question of abortion to the political process. He said everybody knows the courts will continue to have to decide the abortion question and should weigh it that way. So look for that book to come out and look for plenty of reaction, right and left, because of the Supreme Court, less trusted than ever before, more politicized than ever, and retired Justice Breyer might have a few words to say about that in his new book. More coming up after this. You're Up North.
Don't know what's happened to me since I met you.
Again, it was on this day in 1974 that the members of Jefferson Airplane got back together and renamed the band Jefferson Starship. In sports, the Milwaukee Brewers season opener is just 9 days away now, and their home opener is 2 weeks from today at home at American Family Field, taking on the Minnesota Twins. But you can still hear spring training games here on one of our civic media stations, WRCE, in Richland Center. This Friday at 3 o'clock, you can hear the Brewers taking on the Kansas City Royals in Cactus League action. The Milwaukee Bucks will next be in action tomorrow night against the Boston Celtics in Boston. You can catch that game tomorrow night on Oshkosh Air Support. News from the Center in Richland Center, Lake Air and Amory, WRJN in Racine, 98Q Country in Park Falls, and locally grown radio, WFHR in Wisconsin Rapids. The NCAA men's basketball tournament, well, the play-in games are coming up here, but the games that matter for those of us in Wisconsin, Marquette and the Wisconsin Badgers, both of those games are Friday. Marquette is a number 2 seed. They will play Friday afternoon, 1 o'clock against Western Kentucky. And the Badgers, a 5 seed, will take on 12 seed James Madison at 8:40 Friday night. And that game will be in New York City. And you'll be able to hear that game on several Civic Media radio stations that will tell you a bit about as the days get a little bit closer to that game as well. In the Up North News Daily newsletter, and you can sign up for it over at upnorthnewswi.com, an interesting story here from Christina Laurie, all about Women's History Month, celebrating Wisconsin women past and present. And there's a fascinating story here about a woman named Doris Tom. Her dad had worked on the Chicago Northwestern Railroad and died in a work-related accident. And Doris's mother insisted that the company must pay to support the family, which was rather unheard of at the time, apparently. But all the railroads would do for a worker who died was give the family a free railroad pass. That wasn't enough. So inspired by what her mom had done to win compensation, Doris would later join a labor union as an adult, becoming the first woman elected as a secretary and the first woman on a union executive board. She was working at the General Motors Fisher body plant in Janesville. She wasn't allowed to transfer from the all-female cushion department to a job in the higher-paying all-male trim department. She filed a complaint, and soon all of the jobs in the plant were open to women. She also became the first female committee member in United Auto Workers Local 95. A little bit more about her in today's newsletter. You'll want to sign up for that at upnorthnewswi.com. It's also got the story, if you hadn't heard it earlier, about the Elkhorn School District and book banning, and how, based on one complaint from a parent who challenged 444 books, after administrators spent months looking through all of the texts, they came to a conclusion that all of the targeted books will remain on the shelves, at least at some of the Elkhorn schools. And we've got a link to the full story there in our newsletter. So again, you can sign up for that letter at upnorthnewswi.com. I was waiting to see, I see that we're going to have both Dana Wachs and Katie Rosenberg joining us, and I think I've got to go fix the code that I gave Dana so that he can come join us a little earlier, a little bit ahead of time here. So we're going to talk a bit with him about what has happened in the legislature in the closing days of it when they decided to fire more appointees. And we'll also plan to talk to Katie Rosenberg as well and find out what's happening in the city of Wausau. She is standing for re-election 2 weeks from today. But Dana Wachs joins us now from Eau Claire. I used to call him Representative Wachs, and then I had to call him Regent, which he thought meant Regency as in Your Highness, like he was a king or something. And now he's just plain old Dana, which is just how I love him because he's an old friend. Dana Wachs, how are you?
Well, they usually call me overweight. So I'm good. How are you, Pat?
I'm pretty good. I don't know if Greg's going to be able to do this, but I had special music picked out for you at 7:30 before I realized, who was coming on when, that I probably made a mistake there. Greg, do you have the 7:30 bumper music handy there for Mr. Wachs?
I do.
Oh, okay. Here, then we'll explain why I picked this especially for Dana.
Come ride the little train that is rolling down the tracks to the junction. Forget about your cares.
This is going to put back some memories.
At the junction.
This
Lots of curves, you bet.
You can
they're
already
trying
see.
dresses.
When you
Yes.
get to the
Oh.
junction.
Do you want to tell the story, or should
Yeah,
I?
I'm going to tell the story. So years back, I was helping Dana with his gubernatorial campaign. This would have been 2017, early 2018. And you have to go all over God's green earth when you're running for office, for Congress, for governor, as you well know, Dana. And one of our favorite stories was the time where, God bless Quick Trip, we had to stop in many Quick Trips, sometimes for cookies, but oftentimes for restrooms that became changing rooms, because sometimes you'd be in one outfit, but then you'd have to put on a suit to go to like a dinner or something. And I just noticed one day, it was like we both had our outfits draped over the doors of the stalls. And I said it looked just like Petticoat Junction with all the little petticoats draped over the water tank. And only Dana and I are of a certain age and a certain ilk that would enjoy a Petticoat Junction reference to running for governor. But it's a fair question to say you miss those days, but you don't miss those days traveling all over the state.
I thought traveling all over the state was wonderful in the sense that we met all sorts of beautiful, wonderful people and had some bizarre experiences, just bizarre. But I enjoyed it very much. I love this people in the state of Wisconsin, and thought the world of that experience. And it makes you a better person when you realize the people that are walking in their mocks, what's going on with the lives of the people. And it's, I loved doing that work.
Mm-hmm.
I really did.
It was a lot of fun. And then sometime after Tony Evers was elected governor, he appointed you to the University of Wisconsin Board of Regents. And now recently, Republicans continue their push to fire appointees, and you and fellow Regent John Miller got caught up in that. And again, we've talked about this at length, how petty and childish it is. But now that you've had some time to absorb it, is there still anything other than petty politics that explains why they did this to you and so many other appointees?
Well, this whole experience makes you understand why Ernest T. Bass in the Andy Mayberry show used to throw stones at everybody, because it's been since we're going back in television history here. It was very frustrating. I believe 21 people that he's appointed have been not confirmed by the Republicans in the state Senate, and it's these guys are poster children for dysfunctional government. They truly are. It's just awful.
Oh, and that's what led to the new maps, and it's what led to people making decisions on whether to run or not run in this district or that district. We're up against a break here, but when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Dana Wachs as far as his own political future and really what the political environment is like around Wisconsin in 2024. More after this. You're Up North.
This has been a Filmways presentation.
That was hilarious, Pat.
Oh,
that Petticoat Junction. Remember that? That was.
Oh God, that was so good. Let's see. Let me bring Katie in here. Hey, Katie.
Hello.
How are you?
Oh, I'm just peachy. How are you?
I'm okay, but a bit chagrined. I got the. I was sure I told one of you 7:05 and one 7:30, but apparently I told you both 7:30. And I apologize for that. No, it's okay. So if you don't mind, at the end of this break,
a little Rosenberg Walks mix 'em up.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, yep. We're gonna do a crossover event.
Oh yeah.
Dana I'll get those last couple of questions into you, and then we'll let you go, and then Katie and I'll continue after that.
Pat, do you have first of all, welcome Mayor Rosenberg. Huge fan.
Thank you.
Do you have specific music you'd like? Do you want me to just replay what we were doing, or
no?
Dig up some new stuff?
Katie, did I ask you last time you were on if you have favorite walk-up music, a particular band or song?
Everyone always asks me, and it changes every day. So the song that is in my head since St. Patrick's Day is the Cranberries' Salvation. So whatever you want to do with that, feel free.
You say it, we'll play it. It works out very easily that way.
It's clean, right? I'm.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's the Cranberries. It's the Cranberries.
It's the Cranberries. Come on.
Even Taylor Swift swears sometimes. I mean,
wait, what?
Yeah, she swears.
No way.
She's an adult, Patrick.
Well, I'm just saying,
I prefer the Flintstone.
You be careful what you wish for. I can always play something different next time you're on too. You were lucky I could find Petticoat Junction. That theme is not out there as frequently as you might expect.
Yes. The internet's so hard to find things on.
Mm-hmm. I looked at some of the Ernest T. Bass scenes from Andy of Mayberry the other day, and one of his fixations was, I'm saving up for a gold tooth.
Oh, man.
All right, songs all loaded up, and we're good to go.
All right, good. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
All right. I enjoyed your appearance on the Sunday Yap Yap shows. Dana.
Well, Dana, did you get to watch that yet, Dana?
I have not yet been able to see it. I live in a wind tunnel of stuff.
Well, you were good.
Yes. I always knew I liked you, Katie.
Oh, man.
Pat, if it's all right, I'm going to announce I'm not running on your show. So
yeah, that's what we're going to come right out of the commercial with
that.
And then we'll do one more question kind of about the environment with the new maps, and then we'll cut you loose and let you get on with your busy day. I don't know if you heard earlier, you probably didn't hear earlier in the hour, we started a new contest where people have to use our text app to send a keyword in. And if they text, then they're entered into the contest. But I didn't turn off my notifications. And so it used to be I'd hear a ding when somebody would text message a question or a comment, but now they're just texting to get entered into the commercial. And I feel like I'm trapped in a bell tower in Notre Dame someplace. It's just the bells, they won't stop going off in my head.
Bedlam.
It is. It's absolutely crazy. Oh, dearie. All right. I've got that. Find my Katie questions. There you go. All right. We've got just under a minute, and then we'll be back up here. I'm going to put this up.
Oh, you're making good money on this commercial break.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I will say, we kind of watch the numbers every day, and we're today is the biggest audience we've had yet. So
good.
I guess teasing the two of you was smart on my part.
Which one of us is going to pop off? You don't know.
That's right. See, it's like whack-a-mole, It's like, could be you.
Hopefully Artie doesn't start barking, because
Artie is always welcome to bark. We are very pro animal on this show. So. All right, 15 seconds. Here we go. Back on UpNorthNews Radio for this Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. Nice to have you along. Dana Wachs, former Assembly Rep, former UW Board of Regents member, is here. Wausau Mayor Katie Rosenberg is here as well and is standing by. Dana, before we pivot over to Katie here, we were talking before about, the Republican monkey business of, firing people. One of them, Brad Paff, basically turned around and ran for a seat in the state Senate, and now he serves right alongside them and is doing his part to kind of make their lives miserable, and God bless him for it. You've certainly been asked the same thing, if you'd consider, running it for your old seat in state assembly or one of the other seats. Jody Emerson is representing one of the Eau Claire seats right now, but those district lines have moved. Has that given you an opportunity to consider something, and what are you thinking about doing?
Well, it turns out I'm about 6 blocks into the 93rd Assembly District, which is Warren Petrick's district. So for the last 10 days, I've been talking to family and law partners, and we've been very, very seriously looking at my running to get down to Madison, because these people need some adult conduct training down there, and that's what we were fixing to do. But, my family, we the way we look at things, it's faith, family, clients, and community. And I have 6 jury trials between now and January. And, you know, some of these clients have been waiting for years and years for their for their day in court. And some of these cases are complex products liability cases and medical negligence cases. And we haven't found a way for me to run. My partners and I have worked together, but there are schedule difficulties between the federal courts and the state courts in a way that we just can't do it. So as much as I'd like to, and I really, really wanted to, we are not going to be able to turn me loose to run for the legislature again. And I just so much wanted to.
Well, I would say, though, that as somebody who is obviously putting his clients first, and that's completely the right thing to do, while you can't invest the time to necessarily run for a seat in the legislature, somehow I don't think you're going to be quiet. I don't think well, first off, I don't think you have the ability. But second, I think you're too talented to want to stay quiet and speak out about, what you think voters should keep in mind in all of these new legislative districts. What is it that you think they can best do in 2024 to turn things around in Madison?
Well, I think we need to have the majority, at least in one of the houses. And I'm confident that we're within shot of getting the majority in the assembly. I think people got to take a look back what the Republicans have brought this state so far. I mean, it's dysfunctional. It's tribal battling like we've never seen before. And I've been involved in this political stuff. My mother made me lick stamps for Hubert Humphrey when I was 10. And I've really been involved ever since. I worked for Ted Kennedy at one point. I worked for State Senator Paul Offner from La Crosse at one point when I was a kid. And I've never not been involved. But this is the year, and that's one of the reasons we look so hard at this, because this is the year we can maybe get the majority in the state legislature. And so I'll be heavily involved in that process. I'm also involved with Katrina Shanklin's campaign. She's running for Congress. She's an old friend of ours as well. And she's actually a young friend of ours, which
very good. Very good. That was a great recovery on your part.
Yeah,
I won't tell her.
Yeah. And of course, Tammy Baldwin running for another term. I'm sure we'll be seeing her and then the Biden campaign. So, all right. Yep. Well, no doubt. Then I've got all the more reason to bring you back here. And without being a candidate, I won't have to worry about some handler giving you the hook. When I ask an awkward question. Oh wait, is Beverly standing back there at all?
No.
Artie, the black lab is back there someplace.
Artie,
yeah.
the hook. That's
he would completely do that. Dana Wachs, thank you. Again, it's unfortunate that we can't see you as a candidate, but always an advocate for your clients, your former constituents, and for the whole state. We appreciate it so much, Dana. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have yourself a great day.
You too.
Let's pivot now to Wausau Mayor Katie Rosenberg. And so nice to have you here as well, Katie.
Hello. I'm sad to hear that I have to mothball my blaze orange Dana Wachs shirt, but I guess that's what we're doing.
You know what? There will always be a time and a place when things are right. So, never say never. What do I always say now? There is no 5-year plan. You never know. Oh, you never know what's coming up next year.
Don't.
Right. Yeah. So then you are in the throes of a campaign that's entering its final couple of weeks.
2 weeks. Let's go.
I know. So in doing so, I wanted to hit on, just some of the issues that the rest of us around the state would be looking at. And I know that for all of the, how when you run for office, you think you have one set of priorities, but then life hands you another set of priorities. Uh-huh. That really does describe you with water, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, water. I mean, I always cared about it, but I didn't know what PFAS were. I thought we were done with lead. I thought, that's where we're at, though, that we're still fixing these issues.
Right. And so you have been working on getting all manner of outside funding in to take care of this proven health hazard and to not let something drag on the way, say, removing lead pipes has dragged on. But in doing so, obviously that still incurs a cost, and that cost has, I guess, become an issue. So when you're talking to folks at events or doors or wherever, and they bring up the cost of doing the right thing with water. Tell folks how you're trying to balance both ends of that equation.
Yeah, so first of all, before I was elected, but thankfully, the city council decided to build a new drinking water treatment facility. So that was planned, that facility, but it's a $44 million project. And so we pay for that with ratepayer dollars. So we knew that those rates were going up. What we didn't know was that we would find PFAS, and we would have to add $17.5 million to that cost. And then we had a 15-year plan to remediate the remaining 8,000 lead service lines in our city. Well, the EPA wants to get that done in 10 years. Great. So we came up with a 5-year plan to capitalize on all the bipartisan infrastructure law dollars that we can get. So we got $5.7 million for this year. We hope to replace 550 lines. And I'm super excited. We're using a new type of a model, public-private partnership. So I'm hoping that it's really successful. But I've just heard this morning that we have a partner in Shorewood who now they're going to do the same way we are. So we are going to be doing this together. And I think we're going to be removing a lot more lead than anyone expected this year.
It reminds me that I don't believe it was in the last budget cycle, but the one before that, when the whole notion of providing more state funding for lead pipe removal came up. And it was either Assembly Speaker Robin Vos or another high-ranking Republican that said in so many words, well, that's just a Milwaukee problem anyway. And so they cut out the funding. And there's more than a couple of communities outside of Milwaukee going, no, that's oversimplification and probably something a little bit uglier too. Lead lines are still very much a problem in some Wisconsin cities.
Yeah, I mean, we are 150 years old as a city, so of course our infrastructure is old as well. And also, I take exception with saying that lead is only a problem in Milwaukee. It's a problem in Milwaukee. They have 80,000 lead service lines they need to remediate, and they need to. We all owe it to Milwaukee's children, our future population here, to make sure they're not exposed to these hazards. So I take exception with that. I think that's not the right way to describe how we work together. But luckily, we have the historic bipartisan infrastructure law funding that we can all take advantage of. So I'm excited to get going on this. And obviously PFAS, I continuously advocate for. I was just in Wisconsin Rapids last night talking about the latest. I'm waiting very impatiently for news about our first settlement in the multi-district litigation. But that would certainly give us flexibility in being able to relook at our rates. We've raised them 60, 65%. So people are feeling that crunch. And that's what I'm hearing on doors when I'm knocking.
So in looking for those other revenue sources that could offset, ratepayers and taxpayers and all of that, it sure seems to me an opportunity to, again, talk about the $125 million that legislative Republicans are sitting on, in part because of a demand on Republicans' part that essentially, the language has changed that really ties the hands of the DNR to engage in any enforcement action against some of the entities that might have been the polluters or the contaminators of the soil. And if you're going to help the ratepayers and the taxpayers, it really doesn't make much sense to go and protect the people who caused the problem in the first place.
Right. So the very first thing I heard when we started talking about remediating the PFAS in Wausau was, well, why are we paying for this? Why are we, the citizens of Wausau, the ratepayers of Wausau, why are we on the hook for this when we clearly didn't create the PFAS, we didn't pollute it? And that is a good question, which is why we engaged in a couple of lawsuits. But, when it comes to state law, of course, we want to hold the manufacturers of these products accountable. If they've spilled it, I think that we want to hold accountable. I do understand there's some concern over if you end up with a parcel of land that's polluted with PFAS, then you become the responsible party, and maybe you didn't know. But I think there's opportunity. I think that's a narrow enough scope that you'd be able to carve that out with policy. You wouldn't have to do broad brush. But right now, what we're doing is just not releasing the funds. I mean, the budget passed in July, so $125 million that no Wisconsin municipalities can access for PFAS remediation is a huge chunk. And session is out, so I guess we're waiting another year.
I guess, unless the Joint Finance Committee, calls itself in, as
crossing
Governor
my
Evers
fingers.
is asking them to, right? So those were the things that came up after you became mayor. But in running for mayor, obviously some of the core issues are still out there, especially employment, workforce development, getting a workforce in the first place. You were recently part of a candidate forum with your opponent, and to me, part of the discussion was, is it about attracting some kind of big business, what I think of as kind of a Foxconn approach to this, or is it more about developing the workforce and small businesses? What's been your message to voters about developing a workforce for the Wausau area?
Well, of course, we want more people moving here. That is probably the thing that we need across the Midwest in general. But we need more people living here and moving here, kind of spreading our love around, right? We have businesses. I think there are 10,000 open jobs in the county. So there's plenty of opportunity for folks that want to capitalize. What we do need more of, housing, childcare, those opportunities, because people are getting crunched, especially people. I don't count myself in that group now, but the younger people, the young adults, they are struggling. They're struggling with rents. They're struggling with how to manage their children and their schedules. And that's something where government can step in to help, especially when it comes to childcare expansion, advocating for childcare, and also housing, making sure that we're building things that people can actually afford.
And building them, by the way, in a quality manner, because one of the talking points I hear often is about regulation, and we need to get rid of regulation. And I understand getting rid of red tape, but I always worry that the alternative to that is you're ditching the protections, not the regulations, the protections. And what good is building a bunch of affordable housing if it's slipshod? And
Right.
so I guess I'm all the time sounding that alarm about when people campaign against regulation. And I have a sense that's probably one of the talking points you hear as well.
Oh yeah, and we heard it in a couple of debates recently too. So, the regulation that we have, when it comes to affordable housing, we're largely doing a capital stack that includes federal funding. So we do have to follow those regulations, CDBG funding, HUD, all of that. Like, we have to make sure we're following those rules, and labor laws, because we're building our communities and building it as part of it. We've also heard about the questions about childcare and regulations there. There was an audible gasp in the audience last week during one of our forums when somebody mentioned maybe grandmothers should be taking up the brunt of the childcare, and the grandmothers were like, "Hold up, I don't know about that one. We have lives too." So I've heard a lot about that this weekend.
Oh, okay.
You know.
That and again, it's probably from the same people that are like, well, if we just make it tougher to retire, then they'll stay in the workforce longer. And I really
Our bodies
don't
are
know.
wearing out, man. Like mine already is. How many discs have you ruptured? I got two gone.
Exactly. I got no knees. I can't do this forever. Exactly. Katie Rosenberg, thank you so much. Sorry
Thank
about the
you.
mix up. We cheated you a couple of minutes there, but it was so nice to catch up with you.
It was wonderful to talk to you. And it was
Oh,
great to see Dana's face.
I know it's awesome. We have to do more roundtable stuff like
Yeah.
that. That'd be a lot of fun. All right, Mayor Rosenberg, thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.
All right. When we come back, Chad Holmes from Bull Falls Radio talks to us more about life in a northern town. Right after this, you're up north. All right, there we go.
Awesome.
Oh, Katie, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry. I looked at my text message. I was
No,
like,
no,
oh,
no,
you texted it to me. And then I got the email and it overrode everything in my head. So
Yep, it's not a worry. Well, okay. Looking
Awesome.
forward to doing this again soon.
yeah,
All
have a
right.
great day.
Yep, you too. See ya. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, 10 seconds. All right, Thank you, Roger, for noting that this was our 300th morning show here, and to Tony for noting that, yes, it appears to be Wausau Day, or at least the Wausau Hour. Here on Up North News Radio, we welcome in Chad Holmes from Bull Falls Radio. Mr. Holmes, how are you?
Good morning, Pat. First, real quickly, before we get into important stuff, on Sunday afternoon, I was driving and I was going to an event, and I flip on our radio station, and of course, during the late afternoon hours on the weekends, we have what are the spotlight.
Best ofs.
Yeah, best ofs. I must say, you guys must have had a really rough week last week if you were sending our segment with me from last week for that, because all of a sudden that segment popped on the radio as I was driving, and I'm glad I stayed on the road, but I thought, man, you guys just, I don't know. I thought
Did you think there was something wrong with our segment last week?
I just thought that
Chad.
you must have had a lot better stuff than that last week. I tell you, yeah, Dana Wachs and Katie Rosenberg today. I mean, it's like, I mean, you do that every day, and it's like that's the best stuff. Come on,
Chad, you look at me right now. Look at me right now. That's how good you are.
I tell
There you go. That's exactly it.
I was just shocked, though. That was just amazing stuff.
Look, it has to match up with the segments. So I looked at every 650 and every 750 segment from the past week, and there was no doubt that the conversation with you and the points we were making were as stellar as they're about to be for the next 7 minutes here.
I know. I feel the pressure right now.
I know, as well you should. I want to continue on this Wausau mayor's race after our discussion just now with Katie Rosenberg, because it seems to me that whatever blowback she's getting about the cost of addressing all of these water issues and these lead pipe issues just takes me right back to each state budget proposal by Governor Tony Evers, where Republicans say, oh, look how thick it is. It spends so much money. And look at ours is so thin and spends so much less money. And you know what I've said about that? That to me is, yeah, one side wants to do the work. And that's what you see from Katie Rosenberg and the rest of Wausau leadership is doing the work to have clean water in Wausau. And if you're advocating for spending and doing a lot less, that just tells me you don't want to work. You just want to say, oh, I spent less. And that's not leadership.
And also, Mayor Rosenberg, every time she's talked to me, and I know that when she's talked to you as well, she explains that right now we are in a situation where the city can receive some funding. That if we wait, we possibly would lose that funding. And in the end, it would cost more to the taxpayers than taking care of it now, while there is resources, because right now you have an administration in Washington that believes in investing and in trying to fix problems as well. And there's no guarantee that's going to be the case. You know, you knock on wood, hopefully it will after November, but there are no guarantees. And generally, whenever you have a project that you decide to wait and wait and wait, it ultimately ends up costing you a lot more. I have no idea in terms of why you would want to wait when you do have resources. And though we've seen this in different areas of the state and where, for whatever reason, we go back again more than a decade when then Governor Walker would say, no, we're not going to take the funding in order to build high-speed rail or something like that. It just blows the mind on why you have an issue that could be helped in some way, and you don't take advantage at the time that you have maybe some funding coming in.
And then speaking of funding, can you explain to me as well, another issue in the race that I'm reading about over there is that you have the other candidate, Doug Denny, is it?
Yes, it is.
Who is criticizing the high cost for clean water, but whose website also advocates to put more into roads and more into parks. So I guess I'm assuming you've talked to him about whether we're just shifting money away from water, or how that squares with somebody who talks about spending or taxing less.
Well, that's actually the point. I think that Alderperson Denny is making, when he's talked to me, is that using the idea again of trying to be as balanced in terms of lowering debt and a lot of the, I would call them boilerplate issues that you see from those who are either center right or right. And I actually, that's, That's actually a good point. I did not talk specifically about the parks and the road issue with the alderperson. I find that interesting because, again, a lot of it is about debt, and that's one of the main issues that he has been running on. That the debt has to be lowered, and that and he has said to me, and I want to be in terms of the water issue. It's not as though he believes in dirty water. He just says that he would spread it out, and again, I think the mayor has explained why that is not the best way to do it.
Right. Okay. Well, and again, I think that any voter who listens to, both of the candidates or both sides of a particular issue can still come up with, a good rationalization for their vote on April 2nd. But one other note that comes up in the race, and this is more an excuse to set me off on another one of my rants, and that is this promise of making the budget process more transparent. It seems to me, to hear Mayor Rosenberg's response to that, is that there are already a lot of opportunities for people to have public input. I know I've covered those meetings. I've been the elected official at these meetings, and people don't show up to budget meetings. They show up after a budget's been passed. They show up after a controversial decision's been made, but they can't say that they weren't asked for their opinion on the front end of it. So this is my rant, is just to everybody out there who should be more engaged. Don't have to say you have to go to every city council meeting, but if you're being caught off guard by something after, say, weeks or months of debate, that's not necessarily all the fault of the people, in elected office.
No, and we also have a system where we elect people who get the most information. And there's talk from some candidates, I think, every cycle about more direct democracy in terms of bringing more issues straight to the voters. And anytime, I'm sure you have the case, whenever I bring in somebody that from the county board or from the city council, they got so much information. And also it is as easy as it's ever been to try to keep up to speed with what's happening. As you can go to the YouTube channel, the city puts out these meetings. You can be making your dinner and watching last night's meeting on the YouTube channel as well. So there are ways nowadays that you're able to actually stay as close and up to date on what's happening as any time in our history.
Or an even better option, the Chad Holmes program, weekdays from 8 to 10 a.m. on Bull Falls Radio. Chad, thank you so much.
You too, Pat. Have a good day.
Have an awesome day. Greg, thank you. As always, we'll see you tomorrow morning. A reminder that Up North News is the Wisconsin digital outlet for Courier, a pro-democracy news network building a more informed, engaged, and representative America. Have a great Tuesday. See you tomorrow.